Hey guys, it's Randy with the Fit Politician. And today's Fireside video chat is about something I actually was going to do after the debates on the 26th between Hillary and Donald. But I kind of want to do it now just because I've seen so many things on Facebook about this election. There seems to be a lot of people disappointed in their choices. And a lot of people saying they're going to hold their nose and vote for Hillary, or we have two terrible choices, or Hillary is corrupt. So I just kind of want to set the record straight, because I'm really sick of hearing this, especially from my friends on the left, Democrats and progressives. You are playing right into Republican hands and feeding off of Republican conspiracy theories, and it's about time that you sat down and listened for a second, because if you say you have to hold your nose and vote for Hillary, or we have two terrible choices this election cycle, then you haven't done your research, because you have absolutely no idea of what Hillary Clinton has accomplished in her 30 years of public service. There is a long record Hillary Clinton has, fighting for children and fighting for families, fighting for women, not only here but around the world, long before she became senator and long before she became Secretary of State. So I know that you want to grasp at just a few things you might not like about her, and then that obviously in your eyes makes her corrupt or terrible or awful. But what you should do is your own research, and you should be looking at what the woman has accomplished in her 30 years of public service. So I'm going to go through some things. I'm just going to read them. This is amazing to me. There are people that actually hate this woman, and this is what she's done. She was the first woman commencement speaker at Wellesley College. She went to Yale Law School. She co-founded the Arkansas Advocates for Children. She worked as a lawyer on the Children's Defense Fund. She went to Arkansas undercover to expose segregated white schools that were claiming they were private schools but still getting government funding, which wasn't all that safe when she was 30. She said in front of the entire world in 1995 in China, which wasn't necessarily popular to do in China, that women's rights are human rights. Human rights are women's rights once and for all. She said the same thing about gays and lesbians in front of the world in Geneva. She voted for raising the minimum wage 3 times. She voted for immigration reform in 2007, something Bernie Sanders did not vote for. And this is a whole page of things, but there's also more, okay? So it's astounding to me that people hate this woman. This woman also, she was a former civil litigation attorney. She was a staff attorney for the Children's Defense Fund. We talked about that. Faculty member in the School of Law at the University of Arkansas. Former director of the Arkansas Legal Aid Clinic. First female chair of the Legal Services Corporation. First female partner at Rose Law Firm, which is the oldest and largest, one of the largest law firms in the world, or in Arkansas. Twice named the National Law Journal as one of the 100 most influential lawyers in America. She was a former First Lady of Arkansas, Arkansas Woman of the Year in 1983, chair of the American Bar Association's Commission on Women in Their Profession, created Arkansas's Home Instruction Program for Preschool Youth, instrumental in passage of the state children's health insurance program, First Lady of the United States, promoted nationwide immunization against childhood illnesses, successfully sought out to increase research funding for prostate cancer and childhood asthma at the National Institute of Health, worked to investigate reports of illness that affected veterans of the Gulf War, which is also now recognized as Gulf War Syndrome. She helped create the Office on Violence Against Women at the Department of Justice, initiated and shepherded the adoption of the Safe Families Act, first FLOTUS in U.S. history to hold a postgraduate degree, and also first FLOTUS in history and still the only FLOTUS to march in a gay pride parade, helped create Vital Voices, an international initiative to promote the participation of women in the political processes of their countries, 2-term New York Senator and the first ex-FLOTUS in U.S. history to be elected to the United States Senate. Served on 5 Senate committees, including Budget, Armed Services, Environmental and Public Works, Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions, and Special Committee on Aging. Member of the Commission on Security and Cooperation in Europe. Leading role in investigating the health issues faced on 9/11 first responders. Worked with Senator Chuck Schumer of New York and President Bush on securing $21.4 billion in funding for the World Trade Center redevelopment. Former United States Secretary of State, who is the most traveled Secretary of State in American history. She brokered a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas while she was Secretary of State. Now, this is a whole list of things that she's done in her life. Her life's work is the fight for women and children, and she's done it at every turn. Has she made mistakes along the way? Yes. Anybody in public office has. There's not a single person, including Senator Sanders, who has not done the same. But no one is looked at under a microscope like Hillary Clinton. Nobody is raked over the coals like Hillary Clinton. No one is picked apart, thrown down, kicked around like Hillary Clinton has. And in every turn, everything that's been thrown at her, every conspiracy theory, Benghazi, emails, no matter what it is, she has stood there, she has taken it, and she has kept moving to promote progress in this country. Now what I want to do is I want to talk to you about what she wants to do as president. She wants to make the largest investment in green energy to make us the green energy superpower of the world, make the largest investment in infrastructure spending, which would create 3 million jobs. She wants to raise taxes on the wealthiest Americans so that they pay their fair share, strengthen Dodd-Frank. She wants to find a cure for not only cancer, which she will probably use Joe Biden for, but she is talking about Parkinson's and Alzheimer's as well. More research for those things. She wants to create an infrastructure bank so we can create more light rail across the country, get broadband to every home in the United States. She wants to create 10.4 million jobs. She wants to create paid family medical leave, make women's equal pay for equal work for women a reality. She wants to find ways to get every family to be able to afford childcare and only have to pay 10% of their income for childcare so they don't go broke, putting their kids in daycare while they go to work. And then you look at everyone else's platform. This woman has a plan and a way to pay for everything that she says that she's going to do. This woman has a record of getting things done in her life, more so than Jill Stein, who has absolutely zero legislative experience or executive experience for that matter. Jill Stein is not going to get elected. Jill Stein doesn't have the experience. She does not have the foreign policy expertise to be our commander-in-chief. There's no reason why anyone which should want Jill Stein to be president of the United States. Gary Johnson has more experience than Jill Stein does, and he also is a terrible choice. And then you get to Donald Trump. Anyone who says, I'm going to hold my nose and vote for Hillary over Trump because they're both terrible candidates, that is astounding to me. You have a woman, I just read you everything this woman has done and everything she wants to do as president, which she has a plan for and a way to pay for it. And then you have on the other side with Donald Trump, somebody who has absolutely no experience, has a terrible business record, won't release his tax returns, probably pays zero in taxes, wants to make the wealthiest pay the least amount they can in taxes, which would only create a bigger gap in between the middle class and the wealthy. As far as income, it would only send more income to the top. And this is a man that is extremely offensive. He has not only offended Latinos, he's offended people with disabilities. He's offended women. The only people he hasn't offended yet are white men. When he can stand on a stage and make fun of someone with a disability or say women look better on their knees or that all Mexicans coming from Mexico are rapists and murderers, and you're going to sit there and say with your conscience behind your little keyboard and your computer screen on Facebook that you're going to hold your nose and vote for Hillary Clinton because she's just the lesser of two evils? You've got to be kidding me. People say that every election is consequential, and it's the most consequential election of our lifetime. I'm not going to say that, because it gets said every time, and I think it's a little cliche, although I do think this one is a little more important, because I don't want someone like Donald Trump to have the nuclear codes. But I actually worry about the electorate when they can see Hillary Clinton's record and everything that she's accomplished and everything she wants to do, and then say on Facebook, I'm just going to hold my nose and vote for her. No, you're not holding your nose and voting for Hillary Clinton. You're voting for the first woman to ever be nominated by a major party. That's history. You're voting for the most qualified candidate in American history. So before you say, I'm going to hold my nose, I would really appreciate it if you take the time to look at Hillary Clinton's record and what she's accomplished. I think that you will find that there's more that you agree with her on than you don't. I understand that there is a want to get politicians out of Washington. That's been happening for decades. Earth to Senator Sanders supporters. Earth to Jill Stein supporters. You're not the first group of Americans who wants to see their elected officials represent people better. But putting people in the White House that are not qualified to be there is not going to help your cause. You do not go to a mechanic to get brain surgery. So what you need to be doing, and this is what I've been talking about for the longest time now, is instead of getting emotionally moved by someone like Bernie Sanders, who talks a big game, but there isn't a lot of substance there, why don't you get out there and get involved? You know, where were you in 2010 when our president and a Democratic Congress went out on a political limb, and it was political suicide to support the Affordable Care Act, which was the most progressive piece of healthcare legislation we've seen in a very long time, since probably the Children's Health Insurance Bill. Where were you in 2010 out there voting and getting involved to make sure that Barack Obama kept a Congress that was going to then pass things that you've been asking for, like stronger regulations on Wall Street and, I don't know, raising the minimum wage and maybe immigration reform? The people who are on Facebook hiding behind keyboards and computer screens, these people are the ones who show up every 4 years and they get all upset about what's going on the past 4 years, but have absolutely nothing to do with local politics or what goes on in the in-between. That's why Democratic elections in the midterms are less than half of the electorate in presidential elections. You'll come out and you'll vote for a president, but you won't come out and vote in a midterm election. You won't vote for a congressman or senator. Well, I don't know that you understand how your government works, but let me tell you, all of these socialist things that you want to see, you Jill Stein supporters, you Bernie Sanders supporters, you I'm going to hold my nose and vote for Clinton supporters, yeah, that's not going to happen if you sit at home on every single election except for presidential elections, okay? It's not going to happen when we can elect Democrats in 2008 and 2012 and probably 2016, but then you stay home and Republicans get elected not only in the House and the Senate, but they get elected in state races and state governorships. People cry foul when these governors are out here and they're passing these laws like the the bathroom laws or the religious freedom laws or the election laws, show your ID laws. You get all upset and angry about what's going on. These Republicans who have taken over all of our state legislatures. You get upset about it. Where the hell were you when people like myself who get out there and work in every single election and try to get people out to vote in every single election, we're saying you need to get out there and vote to keep our Congress blue. You came out to vote for Barack Obama. All the millennials came out and voted for Barack Obama, but then you abandoned him in 2010 and again in 2014. And you're going to show up again in 2016 and get all upset because Bernie Sanders didn't make it and say you're going to vote for Jill Stein because you're mad, you're angry, your candidate didn't win. So you're going to do a protest vote instead? If you want progress, if you want to see the things Senator Sanders was talking about get done, then do a little research on Hillary Clinton and stop saying you're going to hold your nose and vote for somebody who is a progressive and who has a record of accomplishment. And when we elect her in November and hopefully elect more Democrats to state houses and please vote for Koster if you're in Missouri. Let's vote for a Democratic governor. Once we get her elected and try to flip the Senate and the House to blue, don't sit it out until 2020 and then get mad again. And also, for those of you who've said, well, if Donald Trump wins, it's okay because he'll just be there for 4 years and then we can get a real progressive in 2020 to run. No, that's not how this works. Because if you want a Supreme Court that's going to uphold the things that your progressive candidate, who may or may not win in 2020, gets passed, then you'll rethink that decision. Donald Trump could elect 3 Supreme Court justices in his first 4 years as president. And that could keep the Supreme Court very conservative for a lifetime. So, please stop being ignorant about this. Please stop being mad that Bernie Sanders didn't win. He didn't go anywhere. He's still a senator. He's still going to be there to push progressive ideals. Sometimes you lose. But when you lose, you act like Hillary Clinton did in 2008. You pick yourself back up and you work for your cause. And if that's to help get somebody elected, if that's to actually join a cabinet of the person who beat you, no matter what it is, you don't whine and cry and go make a protest vote for Jill Stein. You get back in the game. We get Hillary Clinton elected. We turn the House and Senate blue so we can start passing some of these very liberal ideas that Senator Clinton has been talking about for a very long time. She didn't just start talking about making the wealthy pay their fair share. That was part of her platform in 2008, except for some of you don't want to recognize that. She didn't just start talking about paid family medical leave. That was part of her platform in 2008, and she didn't just start talking about making college affordable or even having a government option in healthcare. That was also a part of her platform in 2008. These are not things that should just showed up in this election. So, I don't know if this video will persuade any of you. It probably won't. But I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to make sure that Hillary Clinton gets elected president. I'm going to make sure and try to make sure that we get a blue House and a blue Senate so that she can start passing some of these progressive ideas. And then I'm going to be back here 2 years from now during the midterm elections making the same plea to all of you people who sit it out, don't get involved, don't have anything to say until 2020. If you want to make real change, it's not about being moved or feeling good. And it's not about burning the entire place down, electing people that have absolutely no experience. They're politicians. They should have experience in politics. Brain surgeons should have experience doing brain surgery. They should have gone to school to be a brain surgeon. It's only in politics where people will say, we need just a regular average Joe. Somebody who represents the people. Well, the regular average Joe, the people representer, probably can't get anything done because the average Joe doesn't have the experience to know how. So, September 26th is a debate. I hope everyone will be watching. I believe that Hillary Clinton is going to slaughter Donald Trump the way that she did in her speech yesterday, which I was going to talk about that today, but I'll leave that for another time. I thought that this was more important. But if you would like to read the things that I we're talking about, you can find them on the Contrarian blog. Just Google that. You just Google Hillary Clinton's accomplishments, and there is a long list of accomplishments dating back before I was even born. And I hope that all of you Jill Stein supporters, Bernie supporters, people that are kind of hold your nose supporters, take a look. You'll be surprised at what you find. That's it for tonight. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, push like. If you liked it enough to share it, please share and get all of your friends, especially if you're somebody who has a friend who is on the fence, or if you have a friend that is and I'm going to hold my nose voter or a Jill Stein supporter, please direct them to this video. I would love for them to take a look because I think it's important that we get this message out, that Hillary Clinton is the best candidate we could have put up, and she's the most qualified candidate ever to run for president, and she should be elected president in November. So, thank you for watching The Fit Politician. I'll be back with a video next week. You all have a fantastic night and be safe.